سخنران بعدی ما جناب آقای نیما پور یعقوب فعال حقوق بشر که تقاضا می‌کنم سخنرانی خود رو در مورد شلاق و زندان پاسخ حکومت به مطالبات کارگران آغاز کنم.
I thank Mr. Amiri, and our next speaker, Mr. Pour Jakoub, is going to talk about the flogging and prison, the answer of the regime to the demands of workers. He is going to be the next speaker.
Thank you very much. On May 27th, 2016, Ismail Shaverdi, Ahvaz municipality worker, set himself in fire after participating in a demonstration along with his colleagues to demand their unpaid salaries and facing the absolute ignorance of the authorities. 70 other workers continued their protests, 24 of whom were arrested on June 13. Ismail was no exception. During the recent years, many workers and poor people have set themselves in fire to protest against the inequality in Iran. On September 23, 2015, a 36-year-old man named Omid Rashidi set himself in fire in Ahvaz in southern Iran and died because the employer did not want to extend his contract. He died after some days in a hospital as he was married and had children. In another case, a woman set herself in fire in Mashhad in eastern Iran on July 12, 2015. She also did it because of difficulties with her employer. According to the officials of Ministry of Health in Iran, unemployment is the main reason of suicides in the country. That's why, according to the head of Iran's Chamber of Commerce, every hour 150 workers lose their jobs. In Iran, being ruled by the mullahs, there are at least 12 million workers who make a population of up to 40 million along with their families and have to live with an income which is at least 3 times less than the officially declared poverty line and even lower than the death line. According to the Ministry of Industry, 60% of the industrial units are totally or have shut down, and according to the Minister of Industry, 70% of the units at the industrial complexes are out of work. According to the Ministry of Labor, 30% of the workers in Iran work under the conditions of white contracts, which are signed and then the conditions are written by the employer. But how does the Iranian government answer all to these problems? The workers in Iran do not have the right of organizing themselves, and the unions and syndicates also face brutal repression of the government. According to the official Iranian sources, the Iranian workers carried out more than 5,000 protests during last year. These protests have been going on in the new year too. Besides dismissing, summoning and arresting workers in different factories, the news of lashing the workers of Aghdar mine was condemned widely by the Iranians and international organizations. But the Islamic Republic reminded us that this was no accident when they condemned the workers of Bafq mine to lashings in a separate case. The trade unionists and labor activists who provoked the workers to seek for their rights are being specifically targeted to the repression of the government. These activists are either being released from the prison while having physical difficulties like Mahmoud Salehi and Reza Shahabi, or are held in the prison so long that they die there in the end like Shahrukh Zamani, or are put under such pressures that the only way left for them is a long-term hunger strike. The last example of such cases is Jafar Azimzadeh, imprisoned trade unionist in Evin prison in Tehran. He has gone on hunger strike since April 29th, and after almost 50 days, he is in a critical condition. His demand is the removal of security charges from the cases of trade unionists. In addition, Behnam Ibrahimzadeh and Mohammad Jarrahi are also imprisoned and suffer from different illnesses. Maybe a brief look at the current labor minister's record would show us more clearly the approach of the Iranian government toward the workers' rights. Ali Rabi'i, the labor minister, has been one of the high-ranking security and intelligence authorities of the regime before taking the office in the Ministry of Labor. In fact, he is the best choice to repress the workers, but not to fulfill their demands. Ali Rabi'i became a member of IRGC after the revolution and was a high-ranking officer from the beginning. He was the head of the intelligence office in West Azerbaijan province. According to the memoirs of the former intelligence minister Dorri Najafabadi, he was the head of the workers section of this ministry with the nickname of Ebad. Abdullah Shahbazi, former head of the political researches of the Ministry of Intelligence, has also narrated what he had heard from Ali Rabi'i himself. He says that Ali Rabi'i has told him in cold blood that, quote, "Once we arrested some members of the opposition in Azerbaijan. We needed to send them to a court in Gilan, but we didn't have enough guards. So we put all of them in coffins and pegged out the coffins. They were all dead when they had arrived. They had not been able to breathe." Rabi'i became the executive secretary of the National Security Council in Khatami's administration and had been working with Rouhani there. He used to teach propaganda war in the University of the Ministry of Intelligence. Roullah Hosseinian, who is known as one of the hardliners in Iran, in an interview on October 25, 2000, calls Rabi'i a hardliner and says, in the early days of the Ministry of Intelligence, I was the prosecutor's representative there. In fact, Mr. Ejei and I could not stay there anymore because of violent activities of Mr. Rabi'i, Mr. Hajjarian, and these types of people. He was also assigned by Khatami to investigate the election frauds in the 9th presidential elections, which led to the presidency of Ahmadinejad. In fact, by inviting him to the ILO, the United Nations is appeasing exactly the people who have had a great part in repressing Iranian workers. Instead of inviting the true representatives of Iranian workers, ILO invites Khani Kargar as the state-run syndicate, so they never are aware of the suffering of Iranian workers. It is necessary that the governmental representatives would be immediately dismissed from ILO and the true representatives of Iranian workers would be recognized by this body so that they could do the least to help 12 million workers in Iran to enjoy their very basic rights. Thank you very much.
با تشکر از آقای پور یعقوب